U.S. President Joe Biden has sent out a message of unity a day after his rival predecessor Donald Trump survived an assassination attempt, calling on the nation to lower the temperature of hostile politics. Now, in an address to the nation on Sunday, Joe Biden maintained that fellow Americans are not enemies, but friends and co-workers who must stand together despite disagreements. I want to speak to you tonight about the need for us to lower the temperature in our politics and to remember when we disagree, we're not enemies. We are neighbors, we're friends, co-workers, citizens, and most importantly, we are fellow Americans. We must stand together. So this is President Joe Biden putting out a message of unity when it comes to his opponent as far as the election campaigning is concerned. While it was business as usual for Donald Trump, he was seen playing golf on Sunday, and today he's going to be attending this is a Republican convention in Milwaukee. That is where Donald Trump is going to be today. He's going to be attending that convention. So, the world leaders also they're condemning that attack, including the Prime Minister of India. Prime Minister Modi has gone on to condemn that attack on his friend Donald Trump.
My fellow Americans, I want to speak to you tonight about the need for us to lower the temperature in our politics. And to remember, while we may disagree, we are not enemies. We're neighbors. We're friends, co-workers, citizens, and most importantly, we're our fellow Americans. We must stand together. Yesterday's shooting at Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania calls on all of us to take a step back, take stock of where we are, how we go forward from here. Thankfully, former Trump is not seriously injured. I spoke with him last night. I'm grateful. He's doing well, and Jill and I keep him and his family in our prayers.
And to get more on this, we have Steve Herman, the chief national correspondent of Voice of America, joining us. Thank you so much for speaking to us, Steve. It's business as usual for Donald Trump. He's going to be attending a Republican convention. Given the assassination bid, nothing has changed. None of his plans have changed. He was seen playing golf on Sunday. What kind of message is this putting out to the people in the United States? And is this resilient spirit something that will turn the election in his favor?
Yeah, I think what we're seeing is Donald Trump being very much Donald Trump by pushing ahead and obviously not trying to make it look like in any way that he has been scared by this particular incident. Defiance is the word. And he's also calling for unity. And I think what we're seeing now very quickly, both the Republicans and the Democrats, the respective presidential campaigns, trying to get back to normal, but attempting to lower the temperature just a bit. While Donald Trump is already here in Wisconsin, although we don't expect necessarily to see him at the Republican National Convention until he accepts the nomination on Thursday night. President Biden will be leaving the White House on Monday afternoon after he does an interview with NBC. He will fly to Las Vegas, Nevada, where he is to appear before the NAACP National Convention on Tuesday.
Right, Steve, in such situations, is there an advisory that prevents the person under attack from making any public appearances, at least until the time the motive is made clear and until the time they know that there are no other people involved?
No, I don't think there's anything like that going on. There does not seem to be any evidence, according to law enforcement, including the FBI, that this shooter was part of any conspiracy. We're being told tonight that after some review, that in Milwaukee, that there will be no further level of enhanced security. It's already very, very strict. There are different badges you have to get into different perimeters. And then really multiple layers of security, but we're told that's not really changing.
Right, multiple levels of security, of course, brings us to many questions being raised as far as the Secret Service is concerned. Their only job is to protect the president, the former president, and, the other politicians and leaders. How is it that they failed this time around, given the fact that the last time there was a security breach was back in, 43 years ago when it was Ronald Reagan?
Right. Well, there's going to be multiple investigations at the federal level. Congress will do its own investigation as well, and there'll be internal reviews within the Secret Service itself. And of course, the overall investigation and what happen is being spearheaded by the Federal Bureau of Investigation. But what we have from one preliminary indication is that perhaps the Secret Service did not have enough of its own sniper teams on site, that they were augmented outside of the venue by local police who were working with the Secret Service under the supervision of the Secret Service. And so there's some sort of controversy there about whether the Secret Service may be understaffed and undertrained, and it's relying too much on local law enforcement for this sort of auxiliary level of protection. And we saw this end in tragic circumstances in Butler, Pennsylvania, with a 50-year-old firefighter being killed who was there to see Donald Trump.
Right. Steve, just break it down for us, the situation before the attack. How favorable was the vote as far as Donald Trump is concerned? What are people in the country, how are they feeling regarding Donald Trump coming back perhaps in the position of power?
Well, look, this is a very politically divisive country. What we have seen with the dismal debate performance by Joe Biden on the negative side for the Democrats, and the rhetoric by Donald Trump and this attempted assassination, there are no indications that it's really moving the needle very, very much. People have made up their minds perhaps months ago, if not years ago, about what they think about Joe Biden and Donald Trump. And we're still looking at what appears to be a very, very close election. And so things may change a percentage point here and there. And Joe Biden has said, when asked by reporters about him falling behind in the critical swing states, such as the one I'm in here in Wisconsin, he's saying, do you believe the polls? And that's also been a line we've heard in past years from Donald Trump as well. So one thing I think the Republicans and the Democrats are agreeing on right now is be a bit skeptical about the polling.
Right. We will keep coming back to you, Steve, for more on that. We also have Mitch McCain getting us a ground report from New York as to what is it that the people are saying when it comes to this assassination bid on Donald Trump, and Donald Trump carrying on with his plans and it's business as usual for the man. Let's just go across to Mitch McCain.
Yes, well, good evening to you from the United States, where it really has been an extraordinary 24 hours after this assassination attempt on Donald Trump. As you mentioned, Joe Biden spoke from the White House only a short time ago, and to add to those comments you've already played, he said we must not go down this road in America. Joe Biden really trying to bring the country together and, as you said, lower that particular political temperature here in the country. But Donald Trump, as you say, he is arriving in Milwaukee. He has arrived in the last couple of hours, and he's spoken on Truth Social today, his social media platform. Now, he said this: it's more important than ever that we stand united and show our true character as Americans, remaining strong and united. Of course, Donald Trump going to speak at the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, Wisconsin later this week, and you can expect that city to resemble Fort Knox. It will be locked down with a lot of security after this episode in Pennsylvania last night. And just finally, what you said earlier, there are plenty of questions around the Secret Service and the FBI and local police around how someone was able to get to an elevated position close enough to fire shots at Donald Trump. Plenty of questions being asked on both sides of the aisle. Joe Biden has also asked for a review into Secret Service operations for that event and asked them to review the Secret Service operations heading into the convention this week in Milwaukee. So plenty of questions being asked about the Secret Service and how they operated yesterday.
Right. Thank you so much, Mitch McCain, for joining us with the very latest. We also have Jonna Blank, the former advisor to President Biden and National University of Singapore, joining us. Thank you so much for speaking to us on NDTV. Jonna, Joe Biden has put aside all differences and sent out a message of unity. Joe Biden, in an address to the nation, has said that Americans are not enemies and, they're just friends and co-workers, and they, while they might disagree, they still stand together.
Yes. That very much comes from the heart. I mean, this has been the same Joe Biden we've seen for decades. This is something he deeply believes in, that Americans can really come together. Now, a lot of other Americans find that difficult to believe, and maybe Joe Biden is the most optimistic man in America right now, but that very much comes from the heart.
Right, Jonah. So, when you see assassination bid like this play out on television, something that hasn't happened in 43 years, the last time it happened was with Ronald Reagan, when there was an assassination bid which he survived. Does this really tilt the voters, what they're thinking and what they're feeling in the favor of the person who's been attacked?
That remains to be seen. That definitely is certainly what a lot of people on the Republican side of the aisle are hoping for. We have seen a number of assassination attempts, but they've been foiled by the Secret Service before this. President Biden was the target of at least one and many more aspirational attacks. This is the first one since Ronald Reagan where it has come very close, dangerously close, frighteningly close to success. And the reasons for that are definitely ripe for investigation.
Right. So, Jonah, is it safe to say that without really knowing the motive behind that assassination bid, is it really safe for Donald Trump to continue with his plans?
Certainly, the Supreme Court, the Secret Service has been defending presidents and ex-presidents and presidential candidates for many decades. That is its primary mission. They're better at it than any other organization in the world. But today, or rather earlier this week on Saturday, they had what certainly appears to be a massive failure. And even with that massive failure, if I were a presidential candidate, I'd certainly rather have the Secret Service defending me than anyone else, but they have a lot to answer for.
Right, Jonah, what are the other concerns that are being raised after this assassination bid?
I think the biggest concern is the one that President Biden raised. America is really on a knife edge of being torn apart. The levels of hatred just run very deep, and we see so much advocacy of political violence. To be honest, virtually all of it coming from the political right. Elected officials, Republican Party officials, including the former president himself, have been essentially advocating political violence. And as President Biden made very clear, this has got to stop. The shooter was himself a Republican, but we should not read a partisan lean into this. We do not know his motives. We do know that elected officials have been advocating political violence and must stop.
Right. So, of course, it also brings to question, the gun licensing as far as the United States is concerned, something that, Joe Biden has strongly been against.
You're absolutely right. Right now, tomorrow, the United States could ban AR-15s, the type of weapon that was used in this assassination attempt on Mr. Trump. This has been a program that President Biden and the Democratic Party have been pushing for decades. It has been blocked by the Republican Party. This could be passed tomorrow if the Republican Party would just agree to it.
Right, Jonah Blank, thank you so much for speaking to us here on NDTV. We also have Rachel Keene, the co-chair of the Trump Campaign 2016, speaking to us regarding the concerns when it comes to security that has been breached in this assassination bid to the former president. And what is it that we can expect going forward?
I think that it has actually really changed a lot of people's minds and views, especially when we saw that iconic picture of President Trump right there holding up his fist. That fist is raised in defiance to the globalists, to the communists, to those that want to destroy our country and implement communism and Marxism. It is a fist of defiance, and it's raised to then as a cry to those that desire individual liberty and freedom and what our country is founded upon. And I think that a lot of people saw that and they were inspired, because it's kind of, to be honest with you, it's been very monotonous here in America the last 3.5 years under President Biden. And people are looking for a rebirth, a revival to take place in this country, a newfound patriotism, a love for this country, a love for America, a love for individual liberty and freedom. And that fist raised in that moment just ignited, I think, a new passion for people across this country.